Welcome everyone to Flutespresso episode 22 with our special guest, Ali Ryerson.
Oh, hi, Tatiana. This is so exciting to be here with you.
Hi, Ali. Thank you so much for being here. This is great. So I'll just read a short little bio and then we'll get started. So Ali Ryerson, who ranks among today's top jazz flutists, grew up in a musical family. Her father, jazz guitarist Art Ryerson, played with the Paul Whiteman Orchestra, then became a top studio player in New York City. Ali has become an internationally renowned touring and recording artist and educator. Former NFA Jazz Chair, current Low Flutes Chair, founder of NFA Jazz Flute Big Band, and Ryerson was flute professor at Sacred Heart University and conducts masterclasses worldwide. Ryerson, a Hart School of Music graduate, studied with Harold Bennett and John Wyan, and is a Gemeinhardt artist with an autographed series of flutes.
One correction that I didn't catch is that I was the former Low Flutes chair. Now I'll be the program chair for 2023 for the NFA convention in Phoenix.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Congratulations. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
So much going on. And it's so great to see you. We were just catching up before saying last time we saw each other was like February 2020 in St. Louis.
Exactly, at their flute day, which was so great. And that I was just telling you that was the last gig. I flew home from the flute day on March 1st. And I think it was a week later and everything was canceled. The Low Flute Festival in Japan and everything. So
we're glad to see things opening back up and you're remaining busy always.
I thought I was in semi-retirement, but apparently I'm not.
Welcome back.
Exactly.
So for anyone who's just now joining us, this is Flutespresso. It's all about drinking coffee with our favorite flutists. So a virtual cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to Tanya.
And as always, we do a giveaway for our Flutespresso. So all you have to do is comment with maybe where you're watching from and what kind of coffee or tea you're drinking. And we are giving away one of Ali's pieces of music. So we're very excited for that. Yes. So everyone should comment.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So we'll just get right into it, I guess. So
terrific, Tatiana.
We talked a little bit in your bio that you grew up in a musical family. Can you talk to us a little more about your upbringing and how that's shaped your musical career?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my favorite subjects, actually. I grew up, I was born in New York and grew up in Westchester County, Armonk, New York. And my dad, as you mentioned, was a jazz guitarist and got his start with Paul Whiteman and ended up in New York and became a top studio player, recording with everybody, like from Charlie Parker to Sarah Vaughan to Elvis Presley. I mean, it was kind of crazy. He was also the first guitarist to work with the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. He did some Stravinsky and Kurt Weill. So that was kind of cool. I have 3 older brothers. Everybody is a musician. And in fact, on my mother's side, her mother, my grandmother, I'm named after, a little known secret. My Ali is a nickname. So my grandmother, Alice, was a professional pianist, and she was born in the 1800s. She was in vaudeville. So my grandmother was on the road. I've spent half my life on the road, so I certainly come by it honestly. All of my brothers and I first learned piano, then we all chose a second instrument. I kind of wanted to play the trumpet because 2 of my brothers, Rich and John, played trumpet, and I wanted to be like my brothers. but my mom kind of steered me in a different direction. And as soon as I chose the flute, it was an instant love affair. I knew probably by the time I was 11 that I wanted to be a flute player, and that's what it was going to be. And so we were all given a legitimate classical education, but at the same time, my whole family was into jazz. So everything I heard in the house, recordings, we had a family band. My father did the arrangements. Everything else was jazz. So I always like to say it was kind of the perfect storm to becoming a jazz flute player, where I was able to really learn how to play the flute properly, but at the same time, improvisation came very naturally because I was surrounded by it. It was my environment. So it was great.
That's incredible. That is quite the history of musicians in your family. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Wow.
Well, this is so much fun to see where everyone is tuning in from.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Michigan, Minnesota, Chicago. Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh, so Susan Rogers, a buddy of mine. Thank you so much for your post, Susan. Farmington Hills, so I don't think I'll be at Amy Porter's Anatomy of Sound. I don't think I'll be doing a concert. I'm just going to be part of the reunion, the 20th anniversary reunion, which is going to be pretty cool. So, yeah.
Amazing. So, it's going to be a great event.
It will, certainly.
Yes. Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, you're right about the fact that everything seems to be kind of coming back, which is fantastic. I have spent much of my life as a jazz gypsy on the road. I first went on the road, I'm sure, before you were born, Tatiana. 1973. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of assumed that. And so when the pandemic hit, and I've been so fortunate to be able to really tour the world and make my living doing what I love, and seeing the world and friends in every nook and cranny, every corner of the globe. It feels great friends. But when the pandemic hit, it actually turned into like this, I called it the grand pause. And I think it gave me personally, the silver lining that I found was that it gave me a chance to kind of take a rest. I was very musically active on my own. I was writing a lot. I was teaching a lot, as everybody else. And I kind of was able to rejuvenate and get my energy back. And now that touring has started again, I feel like, yes, I'm ready for it and I'm excited. So it's a pretty great feeling. I'm just noticing here, Lawrence Woodall used to play with one of my brothers in the Catskills. How cool is that?
That's awesome.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
Okay.
Your turn.
I was going to say, like, now that things are opening up, you're doing the Anatomy of Sound, the Low Flutes Festival is coming up. What else do you have on your radar?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. I sort of love talking about that. So this Saturday, I'm living in Florida now. I just moved last August, St. Augustine, Florida. It's heavenly. And this Saturday, I am driving over to Sarasota, and I am playing the Sarasota Opera House, which is a trip. I'm the special guest on a terrific program featuring two jazz legends who are both in their 90s, composers and jazz pianists. Dick Hyman, who was also the musical director for Woody Allen for most of his films, and he was in the famed Carnegie Hall concert that Benny Goodman did many, many moons ago. And the other star on the program is David Amram, who is also a pianist, but a multi-instrumentalist, quite a well-known composer, many film scores. Yeah, we don't have enough time to mention them all. So anyway, I'm one of the guest artists, which is kind of exciting.
Wow.
And of course, you know, one of the most exciting things that's coming up is, of course, the 2022 International Low Flutes Festival, which will be online, so everybody can actually go. And that's going to be amazing. The team working on it, Mariana Gariazzo and Chris Potter, and actually Catherine Scarborough is you know, all of these are dear friends of mine. She's also involved with the planning. And Matthias Ziegler is one of the headliners. Chris is one of the headliners, and the fabulous Yuko Hoshi Japan Jazz Flute Big Band. And I've worked with them both in Japan and in the States on a number of occasions, and they're just fantastic. So that's going to be an exciting event, and it's actually June, I believe it's 16 through 19. And then I'm also going to be part of the reunion at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor with Amy Porter's Anatomy of Sound. That's kind of super exciting. Part of it will be online, but part of it will be in person. And whatever Amy does is always exciting. It's pretty cool. And actually this month, in a couple of weeks, I'm headed with the NFA gang out to Phoenix for our first site visit for the 2023 convention. So that's super exciting. I really can't wait for that. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of things. I have a lot of other tours coming up. I'll be recording this summer with Leia Freire, a fabulous Brazilian flute player, composer, pianist, just, you know, an amazing talent. And we're going to be doing some recording in New York, and that also with Keith Underwood, the fabulous Keith Underwood. Yeah. So a lot of great stuff going on.
Wow, sounds like it.
I see John Brinton is here from New Hampshire. We've been chatting on Facebook and everything, and it's so great to see you here, John. Thanks for making it.
Yeah.
Oh, and Carolyn Frugas from the Hudson Valley. Know it well, love it lots. I just played Woodstock, New York at Bearsville Theater. So that was pretty fun. Oh, and let's see, Heather from Iowa City, drinking black coffee, of course.
Yes. Heather is
Cheers.
Like the mastermind behind Flutespresso.
This is such a great idea, by the way.
Good. I'm so glad.
I adore it. I love my mug. Thank you. And I have two, so I can have company.
Yes. Wonderful.
Great.
So yeah, I mean, you're not really in the semi-retirement that you were thinking. You have so much going on.
I guess not. I know, it's pretty funny. Well, I think what happened, you know, when the pandemic hit, for one thing, you know, I was able to kind of settle in, as many of us, into a delightful practice regime. You know, when life was so busy that nobody ever had enough time in the day, all of a sudden we had enough time. And of course, I feel very fortunate that the instruments that I practice on are these gorgeous Ali Ryerson model flutes. So I have to say, I'm one of the lucky ones. But what ended up happening, in order to keep it interesting for my students online, because I teach classes through an online platform called Lesson Face. And I've been actually with them for a number of years, way before the pandemic. But they have, of course, thrived because everything has gone online. And then, of course, privately, and I give master classes, annual master classes for 20 years, usually in California at Hidden Valley music seminars. But of course, everything went online, and what I started doing was composing jazz flute solos on jazz standards, and using this as a way to teach the jazz style. So in other words, all the little details, like how to swing, but from the viewpoint of how to articulate, how to use vibrato or not use it, how to phrase, and one of the big secrets with how to swing has to do with where you place your accents. So by bringing these solos into my teaching, where I've written over 24 of these, soon to be published. That's a little plug that I can't give any further information till the contract is signed. But it turned into like a really like interesting way for all of us to do it, because I would send PDFs of the solos. I would create backing tracks. So on the class, I could play it. All my students would mute, but they'd play with me, and then we could talk about all the topics that go into the jazz flute style, but also how I improvise over the harmonic progression. And so depending upon the level of experience of my students, because it's always varied, some are, very good jazz flute players. Others are coming from the classical world, being introduced to jazz. So learning about how to sound like a jazz flute player is this enabled them to be able to do this and play with me, hear me, and with the backing track. And so that was one of the things that I got into very, very heavily for the last 2 years. And now I'm using it. You'll actually hear it if you go to the Low Flute Festival. I actually now I weave them into my live performances. So it becomes like kind of a part of an arrangement of jazz standards. So it's pretty exciting. Oh, I see Russ
Cool.
De Felippis is here. We just saw each other when I was on tour up in the Northeast, and I was playing at the great jazz club, the Jazz Forum in Tarrytown, New York. Hey, Russ. Great guitarist, which is nice to have a guitar player here. Yay.
Yeah.
We love like that, right?
A little reunion here too.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome. Here,
Yeah.
cheers to everybody, no matter what instrument you play.
Yes. And on that note of instruments, so this might be a kind of loaded question or double question. So I guess we'll start with, you said you have your own line of instruments, and Flute Specialists, we're Gemeinhart dealers, and we carry the Ali Ryerson alto and flute, and they're amazing. But how many people have a flute named after them, right? Like, you can count on one hand, right? Like, well, can you just tell us about that process, what it was like what part you had in that?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking. So I had actually already been with Gemeinhart for several years. And we were at one of the flute conventions, and Dave Pirtle, the president, and the vice president, Jennifer Bonnick, we were all out to dinner, and they were trying to keep this a secret from me, that they had decided that they wanted to actually create the Ali Ryerson model line of flutes. And so what we ended up doing, I mean, it was that particular evening is like embedded in my, it's one of my favorite memories. But what we ended up doing was I went out to the factory in Elkhart, Indiana, on several occasions, and, you know, would stay for days. And what I would do is sit with Jennifer, and because she's a flutist, she's a flute tester, she has built head joints. She is, you know, it's a great person to have as vice president of Gemeinhart. And of course, Dave has done every single job, you know. I mean, he knows flutes in and out, inside and out, even though he's not a player himself, but he knows the entire process of building flutes. But Jen and I would sit together, and I would talk about this is what I like. And what they did, they came up with a prototype which kept going back in to be tweaked according to what I described, because I'm not a technician. That's not how I can communicate. I can communicate by saying, you know, I want to feel this. I want to hear this. You know, the action, the low register, the high register, the clarity, the darkness, whatever it was, brightness, and just, you know, like even ergonomically, all of these things were addressed, and they kept tweaking it and coming back. And with the latest version of the prototype, that's how we did it. So it's not just, it was absolutely not one of those cases where they slapped my name onto this C flute and this alto flute. And, you know, I had nothing to do with it. And I love them for that, because it's you know, it's authentic. It's really authentic. And, you know, with the alto flute, I fell in love. I've always loved the sound of silver, but with my BLK, my black alto, I fell in love. It was, for the alto, it just creates this fantastic sound. And it doesn't matter, classical, jazz. I mean, I played with Carla Reese at the first International Low Flute Festival in Reston, Virginia. We did a double Brandenburg concerto together, and I was on that black alto. So it also works with, you know, for classical players. But it's an absolute honor. I mean, there's no getting around that. You know, it feels as though it's comparable to, you know, the Les Paul guitar. I wish that my parents, you know, had been alive to experience that thrill with me. But I know they're there. I know they know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so great. And yeah, very memorable. I mean, that's like for legends only. So it's incredible. And the black nickel is amazing. It's such a nice deep tone to it. I love it.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it incredible?
And yours,
it's just incredible.
I love on the crown. It has like a little mother of pearl on the crown.
I know. I know it. I know it. It's beautiful. And I think there's a few key buttons that also have that beautiful mother of pearl. It's so really cool. Yeah. And what I miss so much, which of course will change, thank goodness, this summer in Chicago at NFA. Yay. We're finally going to be able to meet together in person, and I'll be able to come to the Flute Specialist booth and see you and see Robert again.
Yeah.
And I always love coming over and checking out, the flutes, the Ali flutes.
Yeah.
and whatever you guys bring is always beautiful.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Yeah, we're totally looking forward to that, seeing people in person and playing flutes again.
I know it. It's incredible. And the other thing that's coming up, one of the pieces I'll be performing in the Low Flute Festival is a piece that was, it's a solo flute piece called Jazz Dream that is being published by Presser. And it will become available in June, in time for the festival, but I'll be performing that at the Low Flute Festival. It was commissioned by Claudia Anderson for her glass ceilings project, and this all happened during the pandemic. So the piece itself actually went through some transition, and the final product reflects that, in fact, because I had written one version, and then when Black Lives Matter, because so many things were happening back, the last 2 years. So I decided to kind of dedicate it to my jazz heroes, and the inspiration for it was my friend Claudia told me that she always, one of her lifelong dreams was to be a jazz flute player. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why I titled it Jazz Dream. And it's a completely composed piece. So no improvisation, but of course it's in the jazz style.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah. So it's fun. And I actually play it, even though it was written and Claudia premiered it herself on C flute. I played it on alto flute, and it's totally cool. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask too, do you have any advice for classical flutists looking to get into jazz? Some pieces they should check out, or people they should listen to?
Oh, well, I mean, it's such a broad answer, really. I mean, of course, as far as listening, that's the key. Jazz training is all about ear training and understanding a bit more about jazz harmony, period. But specifically, we get into a kind of a subgenre of harmony with jazz. But I mean, if you just go to YouTube, punch in jazz flute, of course you can listen to a little of me. You can listen to a little of my buddy Holly, but Holly Hoffman. I call her Buddy Holly. And I mean, there's so many greats. Hubert Laws. The list is kind of endless. Frank West. But so one of the things is listening, but it's not just jazz flute that you want to listen to. You want to just listen to jazz, because I didn't become the jazz flute player I am by limiting myself to just listening to jazz flute. It's bigger than that. And I mean, of course, I can suggest. If you want to learn some specifics, and I don't need to plug just my classes and everything, but I do in fact teach a lesson-based jazz flute series, and it's, if you just go to lessonface.com, and I have my master class, which is again online, and it's 6 weeks of once a week, and it's a 3-hour plus session. And if you go to, I think it's hiddenvalleymusic.org, it's there, and that starts June 7th, I believe. And I did write that jazz flute practice method book, so that, you know, that's jam packed with a lot of information. But again, it's not just about, you know, how I teach or how I play. It's just in general. The more that you can actually listen to jazz, because it's all about ear training, getting familiar with the language, with the jazz language. And so, you know, what I do in my teaching, aside from, you know, teaching how to play over changes, chord progression, it's how to transform your playing into like a swing style that is authentic, as opposed to just, you know, where you really feel it. And so, yeah, just start listening to more jazz. And that's probably the best suggestion that any of us can give. Yeah.
Great advice. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome.
And who are some of like your classical influences?
Well, the first person, Julius Baker. And I attended several of his master classes, but I also performed with him, which was this, you know, those were the thrills of a lifetime. I can tell you that. I had been on the road. I went on the road when I was 20 years old. I quit school the first time around because I got a gig full time. It was 49 weeks out of the year, 6 nights a week. So I chose, you know, actually playing to you know, just going to school. And almost 5 years later, I was still on the road, but I attended a Julie Baker master class. And I was working in Latham, New York, which is near Albany, driving down to Brewster, New York, every single day to go to the master class, then driving back to Albany, basically, to go to work. And it changed my life. You know, when I heard this man in person, it was incredible. Then I went back to school, and John Wyan, well, I wanted to go to the Hart School of Music because John Wummer, you know, of course, the flutist who created the compilation of orchestral excerpts. So I thought, I want to play in an orchestra just like Julie. And so he was teaching there. So I applied, I got in. And if I hadn't gotten in, I should have rethought my career at 25. Anyway, unfortunately, Wummer passed away the month before school started. But thankfully, they brought John Wyan, who was the principal of the New York City Opera at the time, in to be the new flute teacher. And it was fabulous because he really like reworked my whole flute technique, tone, breathing, you know, kind of starting from square one with someone who had been playing into a microphone for the last, you know, 10 years. So, that was great. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So,
awesome.
Oh my gosh.
So
it's so good to see some of these folks here. Oh, Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Hi, Betty. Betty Lou Braun. Very cool. Cleveland, Ohio. I've played Nighttown. I also played, there's a theater there. I played back in the 70s, big theater. The Front Row Theater in Cleveland, Ohio. Marlene. Fantastic. This is great. I love it. This is so fun.
The coolest part is that you can connect with, or you have been able to connect with every single person who has commented. Like, I've been there, I played there. That's the coolest part.
Yeah, that is a little scary.
That's awesome. Okay, so with NFA around the corner, we said you started the jazz big band for NFA, which is
The
pretty
Jazz Flute
cool.
Big Band.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell us about
Yes.
that, when it was started?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that all started back about 20 years ago at my master class in Carmel Valley, California, at Hidden Valley Music Seminars. And I wanted, for my students, I wanted to create an ensemble that in one sense was provided an opportunity similar to what horn players get to do in a big band, a traditional jazz big band. But I wanted it to be tailored just specifically for flute players, from piccolo, C flute, alto, bass, contra, with a rhythm section, piano, bass, and drums. So I started commissioning my jazz arrangers to write for this ensemble, and got, I mean, some Grammy winning arrangers, because that's who my friends are. I know how to pick my friends. And so I had Micah Benny writing for me, Bill Cunliffe, Steve Rudolph, Mark Levine, the late, great Mark Levine, who incidentally wrote the most successful, and I would say the most used in the entire world, jazz theory book. And it's called the Jazz Theory Book and is sold in every corner of the globe. Anyway, so I started this at my master class, and it was an instant hit. Everybody loved it. And what it did was it gave the experienced jazz flutists a chance to play in an ensemble with a rhythm section, with great charts, and that would open up for improvisation. It gave the novice jazz flutists a chance to do the same, but sit next to, in a section with some experienced jazz flutists, and to absorb the language and how to swing, and then also have an opportunity to jump into improvisation. So it grew and it grew and it grew. And then when I was jazz chair for NFA, I presented this idea to the board in 2005. And by 2007, I had brought to the Albuquerque convention like a prototype band, and it was fabulous. And then by 2008, we had our first reading session at the Kansas City convention, and Jim Walker was there. I mean, it was fabulous. I remember Zachary Kellogg was like 11 at the time. He was about like yay high, and he blew everybody's socks off. He took a solo on piccolo, and it was because he got into jazz because he had heard the jazz flute big band the year before in Albuquerque. So it like stoked him into learning how to play jazz, because he was already a great classical player. So then in 2009, we had the debut of the NFA Jazz Flute Big Band. It became a biannual competition. It still is to this day. Hubert Laws has played with us twice. Jimmy Walker. It's kind of an endless list. Jamie Baum, Andrea Brockfeld, Holly Hoffman, of course. So it went, I led the band. I was the coordinator of it, and the conductor and everything. And then Billy Kurt took over, and now Yuko Hoshi, who has her own fabulous band in Tokyo. She is now the artistic director of the NFA Jazz Flute Big Band, and it's an idea that just took on a life of its own, because the original arrangements that I commissioned, and some that I wrote, have now been distributed throughout the world, because there are jazz flute big bands in England, in France, in Canada, in I can't even think of all the places, but it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Sounds like a really cool band to be able to play in.
Thank you.
Wow.
And of course, in 2013, my album Game Changer came out, and that also featured Nestor Torres, Hubert Laws, Holly Hoffman, Keith Underwood's on it, Jamie Baum, etc. And that album, so a jazz flute big band album, was in the top 10 on national airplay for 6 weeks when it came out. That's crazy, right? It was a game changer.
Wow, amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, and the other, probably one of my favorite jazz flutists I should mention, and I know it's everybody will have the same name at the tip of their tongue, Joe Farrell. He was just amazing. If you want to hear some great jazz flute, Google Joe Farrell.
All right.
The late great. Yeah. Oh my gosh. T.L. Buckner. How nice of you to say. I hope you're talking about Game Changer. If you're talking about Joe Farrell, that's okay too.
Great. Now we have a list of stuff to listen to.
Yay.
All right. Well, this has been amazing talking with you, Ali, and just hearing, learning more about you. It's just, you're incredible, and you're such an asset to the flute and the jazz communities. So thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. This has been so much fun and really such a pleasure. And, I kind of feel like I'm with you guys today.
Yeah.
They're in Michigan. That's cool.
Yeah. Except you don't have to be in the cold because you're in nice Florida. So
I know. I made sure not to get any palm trees in the
That's why your cup was cold, because you're drinking like iced coffee or something, and we're here with our hot drinks.
Exactly.
Oh. Okay, so I want to end with our Flutespresso Express round. Just fun, quick version of this or that questions, music and non-music related. So here we go. Dogs or cats?
Oh my gosh, that is really tough. I've never been asked that. God, I love them both. I grew up madly in love with my cat Panther, but I think I'm going to have to say at this point, dogs.
Okay, there is no wrong answer for that question.
There's no wrong answer. I love them both.
Birdland or Village Vanguard?
Oh, wow. Well, I've played Birdland and a number of the locations because it's moved many times. I've never played the Vanguard, so I'm going to say the Vanguard. That's the premiere in New York.
Sweets or savory?
Oh, wow. It depends on the time of day.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Piccolo or bass flute?
Bass.
Winter or summer?
Summer. They're getting easier.
Big band or small group?
Ooh, that's a great question. Because I do love them both. What I love about playing in a small group, even like duo, is the space that you have. It's like, especially as a flute player, the lower the numbers of musicians in the band, the more space the flute has. So, but obviously I adore both, considering my history with the jazz flute big band. And I grew up with my brothers, my brother Art, my oldest brother, fantastic jazz pianist and trombone player. And he had the record collection, and my bedroom was next to his. So I grew up listening, to all these fantastic, jazz big bands back in the day. So I grew up loving all of that.
Okay.
Good questions.
Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Oh, well, I'm going to have to say both because I cannot get through a day without my morning Joe.
Yeah.
And I actually, so I'll give a little plug to the Atlas Coffee Company. It's a subscription. It's almost a prescription, but it's a subscription deal. And they get coffees, and it's all organically grown in small coffee plantations or farms, and they're all over the world. And each month they harvest it from a different small grower, and it's called Atlas Coffee Company. But after that, I can't tell you how many cups of tea I have. It's always decaf and herbal. So.
Oh, okay. So they're both necessities. Awesome.
Yeah, both necessities.
Okay, two more for you. Beethoven or Brahms?
Oh, wow. I guess I'm just going to have to jump into Brahms. Yeah.
Okay. And then New York or Florida?
Oh, God.
Only because you just recently moved.
I know. Well, of course, I'm crazy in love with my new life, my beach life. I have a beach condo, but I mean, New York is like in my bones. Right. So that's my city. I'll put it that way. New York is my city.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, well, thanks again. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks to everyone who watched and is commenting.
Oh, it's beautiful. And TL Buckner just said game changer. Yay. That's one of his favorites. I love it. And Jeanette, very cool. Thank you so much. And Betty Lou Braun. This has been so much fun.
Yes. We'll have to do it again.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, Flutespresso rocks. And so do you, Tatiana.
Thank you, Ali.
Oh, okay, thank you, Tatiana. Bye-bye. Oh, how sweet. I love it.